Guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for stopping by, taking your time. You're awesome. Thank you for being here. Everyone who's new, my name is Alexei from We Love Samples. Welcome on board. Today is the topic mixing vs mastering, and I would like to speak about those two topics because those are totally different ones from each other, so it's not the same process. However, there's still many people who think that it's the same process or they mean actually something else. Mastering is not mixing and mixing is not mastering. This is very, very important for everyone who starting out with music production, or you are an artist and you say, hey, please master my music. You actually mean totally different things. What you mean is actually, hey dude, please mix my song. Meaning that you produce your song and you laid, so you have your production, right? You have your MIDI keyboard you played, you have your drums that you programmed, etc., etc. You have your voice recording inside. So you did everything, and then you think, hey, my track is not sounding good. Like if you compare it to other projects that are somewhere out there on Spotify or to your favorite artist. So you think like, hey, something is wrong. Like my song doesn't sound as good as those professional ones, right? So what's the issue? The issue is that when you finish your production, you have to start to mix the song. What does it mean? When you will look inside my project, I will not play the music. Why? Because the music here doesn't make any sense. I just wanted to drop it. So we just see the instruments, the potential instruments that we could have in the production. So we have a kick, we have a snare, we have an overhead, bass, guitar, piano, pads, and the voice. And those are just loops. I put them inside so we just see it, right? This is when you turn your MIDI files into audio. So this is a totally separate session, basically, or a totally different project. Okay? This would be like how a mixing session would look like, meaning that when we play it, we will not hear it, but just we see the movement of the incoming audio. And now let's say the voice is too quiet. So we just push the fader, okay, and we say like, okay, the pads are too loud. So we push the fader down. And we do it for every single signal, right? This is mixing. Okay, so where we just have a lot of faders, a lot of instruments, a lot of signals, and we try to balance them together so they work. And that's basically it. So we have like, of course, like EQs that we use to clean up the audio and improve something, cut off frequencies, right? Some resonances, or we have a compressor to compress and glue sounds together, and a bunch of other effects that we can use and experiment at, just a lot of things that we could do. But in general, mixing is about balancing the instruments so everything sound smooth and not out of like where like what is this instrument? Why it like so loud, or why it's so quiet? I just want to hear louder, or I just want to pan, one. For example, the guitar, you want to pan it to the right side. The piano, you want to pan to the left side, for example. Those are the things that you would do inside the mixing project. Mastering is, now we come to the important part. Mastering is you are finished with your mixing session. Okay, so you said, okay, the song is now pretty good. Why we need mastering, or what is mastering? So we export this mix down, and let's call it like great feeling. Okay, this is the song, the project, great feeling. And now when I import this track just for the demonstration, usually you would do it inside another project, so you just separate the projects. Otherwise, you're like, oh, am I mixing? Am I mastering? So for this demonstration, I import this track, okay, and between the loop, everything is right. Boom. And now everything what is here, this one, this orange one, this is the final mix down, okay? So everything that we had before, we mute. In this session, this file you would have in the mastering session. But as I said before, in the this is demonstration. So this is your mix down. However, this mix down is not like as loud in loudness as your favorite song. Usually it's quieter or it's too loud, depending on how you mixed or who mixed the song. Okay, so the mastering engineer, this is actually the second guy. So the mixing engineer is the mixing engineer, and the mastering engineer is a totally separate guy who is sitting in another studio. He does have other pair of ears, other pair of speakers and headphones, and he has a studio, usually, most of the time, he does have a studio which is so balanced, so all those frequencies that come out from the speakers, this studio is so perfectly treated that he instantly knows when he plays the music back where are the problems inside the mixdown. Meaning that he would just grab in the cue. I grab in the cue. This is not in the cue. We grab in the cue, and the mastering engineer says, okay, for example, the bass is too much. So he would use a low cut filter, for example, okay? Then he says like, okay, something is going on in the 250 hertz area, so a lot of boominess. Okay, so he would cut it. Then he says, okay, I would like to add some air into the track so the track starts to breathe. So he starts to use like a high shelf filter. So he does a lot of things that improve the overall mix. Although the mix should be already really, really good, but the mastering engineer, as I said, is the second guy who improves the track even more. This is his job, the first job. The second job is every platform where this music will be heard later on, or even another production. It can be film or something else. So he knows exactly what loudness of the track should be in order that this track or this production will work outside the real world on different platforms like Spotify, the TV, the radio station, etc., etc. So he does have an understanding and a deep knowledge of how those different stations work and like how music or productions are played, etc. So he is really, really a technical guy. Usually mixing engineers are less technical. They are technical, but not as technical as the mastering guy. They have a lot of creative stuff inside the session. So they mix, with delays, reverbs, etc. So this is important as well. When you feel like your mix is too dry, you can of course do it in the mastering stage, and sometimes mastering engineers do it, but this is very, very rare. So usually this is the job of the mixing engineer. Or you say like, hey, for the mastering guy, you say like, hey, can you please turn down the drums or the vocal? This is too loud. He will say, yeah, there are some techniques, but this is not his job, and he can't do it most of the time. Like today we have the software, okay, there are some things like Isotope does have those types of things that we can, still do something out of the stereo file, because this is just the stereo file. It's just a left and the right channel. But in the mixing stage, you still have all the faders in front of you. So you still can balance those different instruments and do a lot of things that in the mastering file, so in the stereo file, you can't apply it because you just have this file. And if you like say, okay, I need more reverb, meaning that the whole track, all those instruments, because they are in this audio file inside, right, printed, they will have all the same reverb, and like you don't want to have it, maybe, or whatever the scenario will be, it's very, very difficult. So the mastering process, to say it again, it's the last stage where you prepare your music or your production for the outer world. And this guy makes sure that this production sounds clean on all of the systems that are, out there, and achieves the loudness that the track or the production should have in order that everything is made correctly. So to summarize this video, if you're an artist, if you say, hey, please master my music, you mean actually mixing. Why? Because mastering, as I said, is the totally last stage, and usually a professional mixing engineer, of course, he does have the knowledge how to master music. However, this is not his primary job. His job is to mix the music, meaning he has all the signals, all those audio files, all those instruments, and he mix the track, and you say, hey, I like the track, everything is great. However, can you please turn a little bit down the vocal, or push the vocal a little bit, whatever, you just give the feedback. Then this file, so the stereo file, when he print this mix, the mixing engineer, he gives it to the mastering engineer. This is the best scenario, and this is, again, does cost extra money if you want to do it the right way, because there are, of course, mixing engineers, they do like everything in one bundle and say, yeah, we'll mix and master you. But those are like, a lot of people do it, but like, if I say it how I think about it, like my personal opinion, I believe that there are not many like mixing engineers who can really master a track. Not because they can't, but you have to understand that you mix a track not in 2 hours. You work sometimes days on this mix. So you have a lot of so you heard this mix for a lot of hours, and then you lose quite fast the perspective of how this mix, overall sounds like. So you need distance from your work. The same, from your writing process, your music in general. So if you work for like, let's say, 10 days on a track, you can't hear this track anymore because you worked so much, and you need distance. You need some time off from this production in order to come back and see, like, okay, this works, this doesn't work, this works, this is good, this is bad, so I have to change it. The mixing engineer does the same thing. So when I mix my productions or from someone else, this is the same process. So I work on this mix, and then I have a break for a day. I come back and hear, like, okay, this can be improved, this is okay, this should be improved, this should be like this, or everything is fine. Whatever what I did in the first like 7-8 hours on the first day, everything is done. Not on the first day. You work on many, many days in order to get the best possible result out of a production. And then the mastering engineer comes in when the mix is finished, and he does a second pair of ears, as I said before. And this is critical as well, because this is the second guy who is a professional, who has a lot of experience mixing those songs. And he really can say, hey, like, I like the mix. The mix is balanced. The mix is really, really solid and good. However, can you please turn down the synths at this part like 1.5 dB? And I had some productions where a mastering engineer said to me, Alexei, this part at 3 minutes, whatever, turn down the synths at like 1-2 dBs. Why? Because when he starts to master, the mastering engineer needs headroom for everything, meaning that he wants to achieve the maximum loudness of every single track that I give to him, or you, or someone else. So the ultimate goal is to make a song as loud as the song itself can be, and then to release it for the specific standard like Spotify, YouTube, or a radio station, TV station, whatever, the production, wherever the production should go then after the work is done. Guys, that's it. Mixing vs mastering. If you still have any questions, make sure to drop me a comment. I will get back to you as soon as possible. Like this video if it helped you and now you understand, okay, this is mastering, this is mixing. Share it with anyone who might be interested in those topics. Subscribe if you want to see me and the channel again, and you can become a supporter, join my private Facebook group, enjoy more awesome content inside my private Facebook group community. So that's it for today. I will see you in the next video. Have a beautiful day and peace.
Swag on over, little boy. Swag on over, little boy. Swag on over, little boy. Swag on over.